All right, guys, here we are. This is going to be the first episode of my rant mid-season for the Chicago Bears. Um, let's talk about Chicago at Minnesota. My thoughts on what has went down. I kind of felt at the beginning of the game, I loved the short, quick outs. It was smart. Just felt like we had a little bit more tempo. And then Nick Foles kind of overselling a throw. It's almost like Nick and Mitch are missing those deep balls the same way. So I don't know what's being practiced. I don't know what's going on, but when you start seeing similar things out of your quarterbacks, because Mitch, I'm told he doesn't know how to read a defense, but at the same time, um, what have I saw um, that makes either one of them better than the other. And I think that's what was going on in training camp as well. If you remember, Mitch beat him out. Well, I think that should tell you something. I think if anything, Mitch has his legs. I kind of think in the situation that we're at in Chicago, we've got two of the same quarterbacks, and it's almost as if we're going to have to play them like a college team and run them situationally. I can literally see them splitting snaps. I mean, why not? I don't really see. I could see honestly one having the ball first quarter and the other one having it the second quarter, and if you don't want to divide out the snaps, and some people say, oh, Nick Foles doesn't warm up, guys. He's always been the quarterback that we've known that will come in and be hot. It's almost like when his back's against the wall, that's when his best game comes out. Mitch Trubisky, in many ways, the same. Mitch is he's dazzled us with his legs a lot. And then now when we see him in, I think we're just so predictable. I keep hearing about this system, but when I see our system, it's almost like Mark Trestman. It's like, does a system mean that there's only 12 plays and different variations of that play? In my eyes, we saw more motion, we saw more creativity out of Matt Nagy when Mitch Trubisky was in there, and I think it was because Matt was having to use his brain to get to get our offense moving the ball, and I kind of think that Foles is in there, and I kind of think a lot of the creativity's out of it. What we saw last week is another play right over the middle of a touchdown with a clear pocket that Nick Foles had. I remember last year, Mitch Trubisky, the tight end was open in the middle, and everybody saw the meme. He was open. Well, at least that was 20 yards. At least that was 20 yards away. Literally, Foles missed it 10 yards away. So, my perspective on our offense, I'm not seeing any slant routes. I'm not seeing any go routes. I'm not even seeing routes that will pick up first downs. It's very strange. I'm sure if you guys watch all the other YouTube channels, what would I do? I really don't know. I think we're in such a bad shape with this organization, and I feel like, man, I don't want to get rid of any of our defensive players. Eric on Twitter suggested maybe seeing if we can get a high round draft pick for Kyle Fuller. With the other, with number 33 coming in and playing the way he is, Josh Johnson, with him playing the way he is, we have a starting corner. Man, but Kyle Fuller, to me, Akeem Hicks, Raquan Smith, Mack, Jackson, those are our core pieces in my mind. Those are what make the Chicago Bears defense. I think one of the biggest things that's going on in Chicago is identity. My dad is a huge Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so They're built around the power run, and then with our turf, you always hear the wide receivers go to Chicago to die. So that tells me when it gets cold later in the year and stuff, we're not going to have a lot of speed on that field. So it's great to have a Mooney. It's great to have a guy like Darnell Mooney that can get open down the field. But we just need some big wide receivers. And the other thing that's really getting us is the lack of ability to block, not only from our offensive line, but down the field. I remember as a kid watching Hines Ward, and Hines Ward was known for blocking for running backs and shit like that down the field. So now, I mean, we don't even do that. We got guys that throw temper tantrums when the balls don't go their way, and when the balls do go their way, they drop it. I mean, just watch Jimmy Graham blocking. I just don't know why we're not using Kmet to stretch the field and using Jimmy Graham in the red zone. This is such a frustrating team. It is so frustrating. There's been so many moments where we should have won, and I think this whole year the pendulum in many games could have swung both ways. And I know the first two games when Nick Foles came in, there were so many throws that could have been intercepted. There were so many. I was waiting on that to come out. I was like, man, this guy is just not accurate. Now, my dad, I asked him, I said, well, who do you think should take Big Ben's spot, or who do you think would be the perfect backup to Big Ben? And he said Nick Foles. I could see Nick Foles in Pittsburgh. I could see Nick Foles in Philadelphia. But in Chicago? Guys, I don't even know. Right now, I feel our offensive line is not intelligent. They're not strong. They patty cake all over the place. Watch Kansas City's line. Watch how organized it is. So not only are you getting elevated QB play from Patrick Mahomes, but we got to ask ourselves, if Patrick Mahomes played in our system, on our team, I just don't think we would have had an MVP. Something tells me that Mitchell Trubisky will probably go to the Saints next year. Something tells me Mitchell Trubisky could go to Cleveland, depending on the system, or San Francisco. Not to say to be a starter, but man, something tells me that he's going to go somewhere and look pretty decent. I'm not saying he's going to be amazing. One of the things I heard back in the day about Chicago was the lack of our facility. Well, Ryan Pace has built our facility that's supposed to make our offense better. Same old, guys. I think I'm at the point where, we should just be built around the run. Just build it around the run, man. Most quarterbacks can throw a simple slant. If we got a smart coach that can scheme people open when we have to throw the ball, and you could tell a quarterback, hey, this should be open or that should be open, depending on if they're in zone or man-to-man. I just don't think it's that hard. I mean, I'm sure it's complicated. But I think sometimes on our turf, I think with the defense that we have, can you imagine if we had a 20th ranked offense right now? We would probably be the number one seed in the NFC. So it's frustrating. And but I plan on making these videos. I'm going to start throwing my bullshit out there. I'm a huge fan of the Tape Never Lies. Schleg Daddy, I like him too, even though he could be a goober on Twitter. You can find me on Twitter. But yeah, I'm gonna start throwing my 2 cents on the Chicago Bears football team. So we're gonna start with the embarrassing loss at Minnesota. And so you guys hit subscribe and join the ride, man. Chicago Bears, win or lose. Chicago Bears rocks.